important to explain the problem solution approach. If you understand this, the way eramba is implemented and the way eramba runs, it will become a lot more clear to you. There's two basic principles in which eramba operates. The first principle is something we call the problem solution. And the second principle is called statuses. I'm going to explain the first principle first. Roughly speaking, there's two types of modules when you're talking about the core functionalities in eramba. What we call problems, that is compliance management. Compliance is somewhere here, and here's where you will upload your compliance requirements, right? The CIS, the PCIs, the ISOs, whatever that you have to do. The second source of problem is risk management. eramba has three risk modules: asset, third party, and business risks. And basically what you will do here is build a risk register, so again you will end up recording your risks in here. The third source of problems is data flow analysis. So everyone is worried about how to protect data. Well, in eramba there's a very simple module here called data flow analysis, and what you do here is you select a type of data. In my case here is a download context, and what you do is you describe all the flows for which that data basically moves around. So here, for example, I have how data is collected, how data is stored, and how it's deleted. And then for each one of these flows, you describe what risks exist, what controls you have in place, and what policies you have in place to protect that data. So what I want to say with this is, when you start implementing eramba, you need to start by telling eramba what problems your organization has. And you will have, I don't know, 500 problems here, 100 problems here, 100 problems here. So you end up with 700 problems. Now, like in any other case of life, for these problems, you will need to tell what solutions your organization has. And the solutions are up here. You have these 4 solutions in eramba. Policy modules, where you will upload your policies, your standards, the diagrams, your templates. Controls are the activities that your organization performs. So for example, we do endpoint encryption. Someone has to move a finger to get that done, and that's why it's an internal control. We do firewall reviews, we do change management, we do CCTV. All the things your company performs in order to deal with problems, they are documented in here. Now, if these things are activities, you should not have an activity without a procedure. Otherwise, the activity will not be done systematically, and then you cannot test the activity. So of course, these modules, they talk to each other far more than these simple arrows are trying to explain in here. Now, if you have a problem, and you don't have a solution in the form of an activity or a policy, you have basically 2 options. You have exceptions and you have projects. So if you have a risk for which right now your organization doesn't really have any solution at all in this regard, and your organization says, well, you know what, we can't deal with this risk right now, we don't have time, we don't have money, whatever it is, what you do is you create an exception in eramba. Eramba has 3 types of exceptions. You have risk exceptions, you have policy exceptions, and you have compliance exceptions. The 3 of them basically do the same. It's a bit like saying, well, now we cannot do anything about it because that person said so, and until that date, that is what it is. So you can link your exceptions to any of your problems to try to document the fact that someone said, we're not doing anything about this problem. Now, if you have a problem for which you do not have a solution, but you do want to do something about it, then you create projects. eramba has a project management module here that basically allows you to document your projects, your tasks, your deadlines, your owners, and all these sort of things. And these projects can be linked to your problems, but also to your solutions, because many times we have solutions and they stop working and they need some fixing, and for that we want to also record projects. So the first principle, you will tell eramba what problems you have, and for each one of these problems, you will link 1 or more solutions from up here. And so when someone asks you, how do you meet this risk? Or how do you meet this compliance requirement? All you have to do is follow the arrows upwards. Wherever that takes you, that will be the solution. Conversely, if someone tells you, why do we need this policy? Or why do we need this expensive control? All you have to do is follow the arrows downwards, and wherever that takes you, that will be the driver for that solution. Remember, solutions cost money. You don't want to have solutions doing nothing in here. Say that you're in the compliance module. So you go to your compliance packages. As you can see, we have uploaded many different things. Now, in compliance analysis is where you do that relationship in between the problems and your solutions. So we are now here in the compliance module, and you have, you're working with ISO 27002, and the first requirement here says that you need policies for information security. So let's say that ISO is asking you for paperwork, let's say, policies. So you see here, is where on this table I am saying, well, for 5.1, what solutions do I have? What projects, what controls, what policies, what exceptions? Remember, the solutions are the ones up here. So what I'm saying here is that my organization for this problem has one document called the Security Governance Policy. So that will be the relationship in between 5.1, which is somewhere here, and your policy, which in this case is 1. It could be 5 or 10 documents, it's the same. It's just that we have only one linked in here. Now, if I click in here and I go to show, that will take me straight into the policy module. So here I'm in the policy module and I can see I have my security policy. So typical example from an auditor say, well, tell me what do you have for 5.1? You'll go here and you will check what solution you have in place. When you look at the solution, if they want to know more details, you just click on the solution. Eramba will take you to the corresponding module. You see now we are in the policies. So we jump from here to the policy module. And you can now go and show if you want all the reviews for your policies, including the latest approved review. So here I'm on the reviews and I can show all my reviews, when they were supposed to happen, when actually take place and so on. Yeah, so this is the current review of the document. Conversely, if I want to say, well, why do I need this document? What I'm doing with this document? Well, you can see things the other way around. You can go and pull a basic report. So I'm going to pull a basic report about this policy. And Eramba will show with charts the opposite relationship. So basically from here all the way down here where those links are taking place, where those relationships are taking place. So you can see I have the name of the document, basic attributes like who is owned by the policy, the version. And now what risks are linked to this document? So basically the policies versus your risks. In this case, nowhere. This document is not using any risk. Now we'll see the policies against the compliance requirements. And as you can see, it's used in many, many places. Just look at how many places in PCI, in high trust, in ISO, and so on. Now, an important thing to understand about this chart in here, policies will typically be used many, many times across your problems. The average, the consensus in the community is that somewhere between 5 and 15 is the typical leverage of the solution. So if you have 1,000 problems in here, you do not need 1,000 solutions. You need somewhere around 100 solutions. Let's see another example now looking at controls. So let me go and find some requirement from, let's go and do a risk actually, it's something different. Now I am on my risk module. So basically we are down here. We have a risk here about that the website could be hacked. So we want to see what solutions we have in place for this risk. We go here and we can see that we have one internal control. So this risk has one control, which is regular vulnerability scanning. Yes. And we have also a couple of policies. So this risk in here has 2 policies as a mitigation as well. Hardening standards and vulnerability and incident management. Again, I could go in here or I could go in here and I will basically see the control. So I'm going to click in here, just go into the controls. Now I got a shortcut in the control module. So now we are up here and I can see the control that is used in this risk. I know who is related to the control. I got all my audit records if I want. And so I can see very clearly those relationships. All the time, these relationships should be straightforward for you. Now, if I pull a report again for this control, I can see the name of the control, the general attributes of the control, what policies this control has linked. So this regular vulnerability scanning on the policy module is linked to 2 documents. So that will be this versus this. Where is this control used from a risk perspective? And as we said, we are using this control in an asset risk, and this is the name of the risk, website could be hacked. And this control here is we're using one risk. And if you look at the compliance perspective, it's used in many, many places. You can see there's many, many places where this control is being used. So again, the relationships between your problems and your solutions will become completely transparent for you, your auditors, or anyone who is asking questions. As you can tell, you start with your problems. So it really depends on what use cases you have in mind. You might say, well, I want to do compliance. I don't care about risk management, or vice versa. Or you might say, I want to do all of them. It doesn't really matter. You can really start with each one of these separately. The point is, when you choose which one of these 3 or the combination of the 3 you want to use, you need to understand that you will also have to learn how to use these other modules as well, because as you can see, these modules, they depend on each other. The user interface is the same everywhere. So once you learn how to use one module, all the other modules will be very, very easy to understand. But remember, you start by telling Eramba what problems you have and then what solutions. Another important thing to remember is Eramba doesn't really know what policies, what controls, what risk, or what compliance requirements do you have. You need to tell Eramba what things your organization has, and for that you will be using CSV files. Eramba has CSV templates that you can use to upload all your risks, your controls, your policies, and whatever it is that you want to upload into Eramba. Now, I just explained how you implement your GRC into Eramba. I just told you, you make CSV files, you upload them into Eramba. The real challenge is not to tell people what problems they have or what solutions they should have. The problem is to monitor all these things. That's the real challenge in GRC, and in our opinion is where the focus really should be on. The way Eramba deals with that is with the second principle, something we call statuses. Every time you upload a policy, you need to tell Eramba when the next review of that policy will take place. It's a mandatory field. You need to give a date. On that date, Eramba expects your policy to be reviewed. If your policy is not reviewed on time, you get this yellow tag in here. That's called a status, which is defined up here. Of course, you don't want to have these yellows because what happens is if a policy gets yellow, whatever that policy touches down here below will also become yellow. Your problems inherit the status of your solutions. When you upload a control in here, you will need to tell Eramba when and how you're going to test that control. So if you're saying that you're doing laptop encryption, well, you have to tell Eramba, well, every 15th of April, we will go around the office and we will check everyone has their laptops encrypted. Now, if you don't test on time, again, Eramba will tag your controls as expired. If you failed your testing, Eramba will tag your control as failed. And if everything is okay, the control will be okay. Now again, anything here, expired or failed, will replicate immediately into your problems. Exceptions and projects, they have deadlines. And again, you need to do something, otherwise they get yellow as well. The idea behind this is to help you understand from the solution perspective or from the problem perspective how you're really performing in terms of GRC. If I go to the risk module, that's the problem perspective. You see, I have my risks, and anyone can really come with a lot of risks, right? It's very easy to find problems. And again, it's very easy to tell people what solutions they should have. And I have my solutions in here. But look, when I put my mouse over, you see, I can tell exactly the status of my solution. So we are here, and I can quickly tell you that we have a risk in here, website could be hacked. There was agreement between Goran Galic and John Malone. They reviewed this risk multiple times, so that everyone knew what's going on. They all agree that regular vulnerability scannings was the solution, that's an internal control, but no one has tested the control. So we see last audit expired. And because that control is not tested on time, this risk has now inherited this status in here. You see how all these risks have many yellows? What that basically says that someone came with a lot of solutions, but no one really knows whether those solutions are working or not. If I go to the compliance module, if I go to compliance analysis, where you do the link in between these problems and any kind of solution, you see the same stuff. If someone told me that we have a formal process for approving and testing all network connections on PCI 111, and someone said in the organization we are doing change management reviews and DMZ firewall reviews, well, you can tell the DMZ reviews haven't really done on time, and there's a project there which was expired and a tax expired. Eramba keeps track of all these things, and it's done basically through deadlines and your updates. Because that didn't happen, the compliance requirement is now yellow as well. So again, Eramba will help you from the problem perspective or the solution perspective at all times to understand exactly what's going on.